Welcome to the Audio Architect Soundweb London Parameter Link Overview video. Soundweb London devices provide the option for linking any two or more similar controls. As long as the controls operate in the same manner, then they can be linked together. Faders can be linked together, mutes can be linked together, but a fader cannot be linked to a mute. Even controls found in logic processing objects can be linked together to either other logic controls or controls found in audio processing objects. We'll cover that in greater detail in the Soundweb London Configure Logic Overview video. Parameter links are also not limited to just parameters within the device itself. Similar parameters across multiple Soundweb London devices can be linked together. However, please keep in mind that if a device falls off the network and it contains controls that are linked to other controls in another device, then the link will be broken until the device is brought back online. There are four types of links. Parameters linked together using an exact link will track together at identical values regardless of which parameter is modified. This can be useful for creating stereo-type controls such as a stereo gain, a stereo mute, or a stereo source selector. Parameters linked together using a soft link will track together with any offset values that existed before the link was created or enabled. This can be useful for maintaining relative mix levels when adjusting the level of a single source. The last two link types are intended to be used strictly with binary parameters, or in other words, controls that are either on or off. A radio link will allow one binary parameter to be on at a time, and requires that at least one of the parameters associated with the link always be on. This can be useful when needing the ability to select a single user-definable default microphone in a gated auto mixer. A radio off link allows one binary parameter to be on at one time, but allows all parameters to be set to off. This can be useful when wanting to create exclusive solo controls for mixer channels. There are a couple different ways we can create links, so while offline, let's jump into an audio configuration in a BSS Soundweb London device to see how. Here we already have some processing objects wired inside a Blue 50. We have several microphones being routed to a gated auto mixer along with a few line level sources. The auto mixer is set for stereo operation so that it may be routed to a stereo zone in addition to a couple mono zones. A matrix mixer is being used at the output of the gated auto mixer and will handle summing the left and right channels for the mono zones. All other output processing is assumed to be handled by the amplifier. This particular application only requires that one of the line level sources be available in the auto mixer. So rather than provide stereo inputs at the mixer for each source, we can use a source selector to select which one is routed to the mixer. While many processing objects support stereo modes or multi-channel inputs, this is not an option with a source selector. As we can see, the left channels have been wired to a left source selector, and respectively the right channels to a right. If we open them up, we see them function independently. That's not very helpful considering we want them to act as one. Up in the Soundweb London ribbon within the Tools section, we can locate the New Link options. An exact link is most appropriate for this portion of the application. After selecting this option, the Venue Explorer will display a new parameter link. It is strongly encouraged to descriptively rename the link, otherwise it can be very easy to lose track of the intended purpose of a link when many have been created. Right-click on it, select Rename, and we'll give this the name Stereo Source Selector. With the control panels to each source selector open, we can now drag and drop the link directly onto the combo boxes. Now, regardless of which one we control, we will see them both update appropriately. Next, let's open up the gated auto mixer. Now there may be quite a few controls that you're wondering about, but don't worry about them too much at this moment. They'll be covered in another video. One control that can come in handy is the default mic control. If turned on, that particular microphone channel will remain open as long as no other microphone channels are being used. Some applications may require that this be user definable. However, as we test this out, we'll find we can turn on multiple default mics. We don't want multiple open microphones, otherwise that may cause more ambient noise to be reinforced in the system. Let's set it up to always have a single mic be the default. If another mic is selected as the default, then the previous control will be turned off. Click on New Link, select Radio, and we'll give it the name Default Mic. Carefully drag this onto the default mic control for each of the 4 microphones. If we find we dropped the link onto the wrong binary parameter, we can resolve this by expanding the link in the Venue Explorer. Locate the incorrect parameter, hit Delete on our keyboard, and then associate the link with the correct parameter if we haven't done so already. Now the moment we turn one on, it cannot be turned off unless we turn on one of the other parameters. Now for our next example, let's look at providing an exclusive solo option for the microphones while allowing all the solo buttons to be off. The radio off link option is a wonderful choice for this type of functionality. Of course, let's rename this to Mic Solo and finally drag and drop them onto the appropriate solo controls. Now you may be thinking, well, what if we want the option to solo a couple of the channels together? Didn't we just break that option? The answer is no. If using Audio Architect as our control for the system, we'll find we can create a link toggle button allowing us to momentarily disable the link. In this example, we've already converted the auto mixer to a custom panel and have created a new section for link toggles. Now within the custom panel designer and within the Venue Explorer, we find our Soundweb London links. We can drag and drop any of these links onto our custom panel. We'll move the Mic Solo link over and position it into place. We can then give the button an appropriate label for the on-off indicators. Also notice that within the custom panel designer, we have the option to create links. Here we could create a link between the channel 5 and 6 faders to track values exactly with one another by selecting them both while holding down Control and then selecting the new link exact option. Rename it to Stereo Fader. Let's test out this custom panel. Launch the panel. The stereo fader functions as intended. Now to the Mic Solo toggle button. With it on, the controls function as intended. Toggle the link off, and now we can solo multiple channels. Turning the link back on, the last control to have been soloed will be the single parameter left on. Of course, there are plenty of other controls that could be linked together, but let's close out of this panel and jump back into our Soundweb London audio configuration. For our final example, let's jump into the matrix mixer. We see here that we're treating zone 1 as a stereo zone, while zones 2 and 3 are treated as monozones. Links have already been created to turn on and off crosspoints appropriately. Let's look at creating a link for zones 1, 2, and 3 that will allow us to initially attenuate zone 1 by 3 dB while leaving zones 2 and 3 unaffected. Then if zone 1 is attenuated more, we'll see zones 2 and 3 also begin to be attenuated while maintaining an offset. This is a perfect use case for a soft link. First, let's attenuate zone 1 by 3 dB. We'll do this for both the left and right channels respectively. And if we need a reminder for how to work with matrix mixers, we can either type in negative dB values into a crosspoint field, or using our mouse we can click and drag to make finer adjustments. It should be noted that links cannot be nested within one another, meaning we cannot create an exact link for the left and right channels for zone 1 to then be nested within the soft link for zones 1, 2, and 3. After adjusting zone 1 by 3 dB, we can then hold down Control on our keyboards to select all the crosspoints we want to link together. From the Matrix Mixer ribbon, we can then select New Gain Link and Soft, or we can right-click on one of the crosspoints and select the same option. Let's keep with tradition and rename the link to Zone 1 through 3 Attenuation. Now let's adjust Zone 1 by -6 dB. Notice how zones 2 and 3 are now being attenuated by 3 dB. We can continue to make adjustments and we'll see this relationship continue. For values less than -10 dB, we'll see the offsets start to become larger. This is due to the nature of gain controls within Soundweb London devices. For values greater than or equal to -10 dB, the control will behave in a linear manner. while values less than -10 will behave logarithmically. Of course, these controls could be added to a custom panel for easier end-user interfacing, and a toggle button could be added to allow for new offsets to be dynamically created. And depending on the needs of the application, with careful execution, the controls for the matrix mixer may even be able to be reduced visually speaking while maintaining functionality under the hood. In an effort to reduce clutter, let's look at how we can create groups for our links to make navigating them a bit easier. We may wish to group all our microphone links together. Simply control-click on any mic links, right-click and select Create Group. Right-click on the new link group and select Rename to provide a valid description. Selecting a link and holding down Shift will then allow you to quickly select multiple links in succession. This concludes our overview of parameter links. Thanks for watching.